What up, geeks? Welcome back to our channel. I'm Mick Fraser and I am playing Dead Cells. I don't know if you know a lot about Dead Cells. It's basically a Metroidvania roguelike hybrid, right? It's been in early access on PC for about a year. It's finally coming out on PS4, Xbox One and Switch, which is really good. I've been reviewing it for the last couple of weeks. We got early code from Motion Twin. Now, unlike most Metroidvania games, every time you die, you go back to the start. So it's very much like a roguelike, and there's no checkpoints, there's no save points, there's no portals. Even if you kill a boss, which I'll show you, you're not able to restart after that boss. There's no bonfires in this, there's no lanterns like in Bloodborne. It's not, there's no shrines, it's not Salt and Sanctuary. If you die, you're back to the beginning, you start your run again. So the only way to complete the game is to do it without dying. Now, it looks lovely, it looks really nice. It's got a really bright, colourful aesthetic. The main character, well, the game itself is pixelated, so it's got a kind of an 8-bitty look, but the colours are beautiful. The animation is absolutely fantastic, it's really smooth. It's also really fast. And you automatically want to run through the game. Like, you can't help it. There's a sense of speed and grace to it all that makes you want to just charge through and do everything as quick as possible. And I would probably agree that they've got speedrunners in mind in a big way with this, because I mean, there's a clock on the right hand side of the screen which is always ticking up unless you're in certain areas it stops counting. So you kind of get the feeling that it's for speedrunners, and there are timed doors where if you don't get to them quick enough, they lock forever. If you get to them quick enough, you get goodies, money and weapons and blueprints to make more weapons and things like that. You can run through the game multiple times. You don't have to die. If you restart, you keep your upgrade progress, but everything else starts again. So like in Bloodborne, where you pick up Blood Echoes, or Salt and Sanctuary, you get Soul. In Dead Cells, you get cells, and you use those to unlock new weapons and skills. Now, those unlocks are permanent. There are mutations and there are skills and buffs that you take with you and you assign to your left and right triggers. So you might have one that gives you a speed boost, or you might have a buff that makes you earn HP back after an enemy kill, things like that, which is keep it quite cool and fresh. I can't believe I just used the term cool and fresh, but I did. Now, the way you upgrade in this is that you find these jars, and these jars contain scrolls, and on the scrolls you have the option to upgrade either your red damage, which is your brutality, your green damage, which is survivability, or your purple damage, which is tactics. Now, tactics would be like your traps and tricks that you can drop. It would be your bows and your ranged weapons. Brutality is your melee weapon, and then your survivability sort of increases the potency of your buffs and things like that. So every time you find one of these scrolls, gives you a percentage of increased health, starting with 60, then 50, then 40, right down to you're sort of unlocking 10% or 8% every time you find an upgrade. But of course, by then you've probably got a couple of thousand HP anyway, so 10% of that is a nice increase. But you've got a dodge roll, which is very handy because it's got a huge invincibility frame. Usually you can roll through pretty much any attack, even boss attacks you can go straight through. It's all about timing. Time your dodge rolls, time your attacks, and choose your weapons carefully. There's so many weapons in this game, that's where the variety comes from. Broadswords and twin daggers, and there's bows and crossbows. There are axes and hammers and spears and scythes and fireballs and sandals. There's fucking sandals that are a weapon choice. But as you unlock more and more between the levels by spending cells, they become randomly available at the beginning. So when you start a new run, you can start with a weapon that you've unlocked a blueprint for, rather than always have to start with the same base weapons, which is great because then you can sort of, but it's random, everything's random. So it's like the levels are procedurally generated, so every time you start a new game it's different, so you can't memorise a run, you never know what's coming. The only thing that is set is kind of your path through the game. Like, you can unlock different routes different ways through with different powers, but basically you always start at the prison and then you work through the prison through like the Promenade of the Damned or the Toxic Sewers. Then you can go on to I think the Ramparts or the Ossuary, and so depending on what you've got, like you unlock the ability to clap your hands and teleport between like these statues, or you can summon this moss creeper that you're able to climb up to get to new areas. When you unlock those as permanent upgrades, they unlock different paths through the game. So there are options to go by, and those paths usually tend to be very different. So like Promenade of the Damned, I prefer to Toxic Sewers because the sewers are poisonous bastards, and the Promenade of the Damned I'm more comfortable with. But you might be different, so you might pick a different way, you might choose your route through. Plus there's different rewards by going through different paths, so there's always that to bear in mind. But the first thing you're going to want to spend your cells on is a health flask, which only costs 5 cells, and obviously then you can hold down the left bumper and you're able to heal. Then you can move on to unlock other things, so then you can unlock permanent gold reserves. So when you die you get a dead man's bag which stores 3,000, then 6,000, then 10,000 and so on and so forth as you upgrade it. You can unlock further health potions. I don't know what the total is yet because I haven't got that far. I think I'm up to about a third. There's a shop every level that sells 3 different random items, but you can choose to have the ability to restock that if you want to, which is really handy. Or you can unlock the ability to recycle your weapons that you don't want to pick up off the ground. They give you instant gold for them, which is also a nice trick. But there are elite enemies who are all bastards. The elites always drop something worth having. So they'll always drop a really powerful weapon, or they'll drop a trinket to wear, or something like that. So it's always worth killing the elites when you get the opportunity. But they're all bastards. I think that your mileage is going to vary with this game depending on your patience. It's very easy to get frustrated with it. Like, it plays beautifully. It's a really, really smooth, really well made game. But at the same time, that's kind of the point of the game. Every time you restart, you keep your cell progression, but everything else resets. You could play until you've unlocked a certain thing, go through, say, the first couple of areas 2 or 3 times, and you would probably earn yourself maybe 30-40 cells in that time. You can do that in a matter of minutes. Like under 10 minutes you can run the first few areas completely and earn those cells, and then just restart the game every time. You'll keep the cells that you've spent, but you'll start the game fresh. So farming is possible, but it's not really the kind of game that you can. There's not many exploits. When you get to the boss fights, you've got to fight the boss. There's no way of skipping it, and some of the bosses are really, really tough. I mean, I think I've got to the 3rd boss, and I've played it for quite a long time now. I've done quite a few runs, but the bosses are really good fun. They're it's very like Assault and Sanctuary kind of thing. The bosses are very similar to that game. I think boss number 2 is the Timekeeper, and I beat him for the first time yesterday, and that was a good feeling because it was the first time I faced him, and I made him my bitch. But then the area directly after him, it was embarrassing. I think I lasted about 30 seconds before I was completely annihilated by the grunts. This game really doesn't pull any punches where the difficulty is concerned, and it can be quite hard to keep up because until you've memorised how an enemy moves and how it attacks, you just don't know what you're facing. So every time you go into a new area, you're up against something brand new that you've never seen before. If you're into that sort of thing, if you like boss rush games, if you like side-scrolling Metroidvania roguelike games, if you like a challenge, if you just like a good old-fashioned action game, you want something to lose yourself in, it's kind of like a Spelunky. That's a good one. That's a good one to describe it. That's kind of like Assault and Sanctuary meets Spelunky. So if you can combine those games somehow in your mind, that's what Dead Cells plays like. I would recommend it to anybody pretty much. I mean, you'll see in the review that I absolutely love it, and I can't get enough of it. I've played nothing but this all week, and I've got other games to play, and I can't tear myself away from Dead Cells. I can't wait to get hold of it on Switch. I will play it on both consoles because it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. So that's what Dead Cells is. So by all means, grab it and check it out, because I don't think you'll regret it. I've been Mick Fraser for God is a Geek, and you guys have been lovely. Bye.